The courtroom was silent except for the shuffle of papers. At the defendant's table sat Daniel Carter, a single father of two. His suit was old but clean. His hands showed years of hard work. And his expression carried the exhaustion of a man fighting battles on too many fronts. Across the room sat lawyers, witnesses, and spectators. Most had already made up their minds about him. That would change before the day was over. Daniel wasn't there because of a crime. He was fighting a custody dispute. A difficult one. For nearly a year, he'd been trying to keep custody of his children after the sudden death of his ex-wife. Now a wealthy relative of hers was challenging the arrangement. Their argument was simple. Daniel worked too much. Didn't earn enough. Didn't provide the opportunities they could provide. They had expensive attorneys. Daniel had borrowed money just to afford representation. The outcome looked grim. Presiding over the case was Judge Rebecca Hayes. Known throughout the county for being fair, strict, and impossible to influence. She listened carefully to every witness. Every statement. Every argument. For hours. Then one of the opposing attorneys stood. "Your Honor, we'd like the court to consider Mr. Carter's financial instability." The lawyer proceeded to describe Daniel's struggles. Late bills. Long work hours. Old vehicles. Financial hardship. Each fact was technically true. But together they painted a picture that felt unfairly incomplete. Daniel remained silent. Not because he agreed. Because he was used to being judged by appearances. Finally Judge Hayes looked down from the bench. "Mr. Carter." Daniel stood. "Yes, Your Honor." The judge adjusted her glasses. "Please tell the court why you believe your children should remain in your care." Daniel swallowed. He wasn't a polished speaker. Wasn't wealthy. Wasn't powerful. But he loved his children. So he told the truth. He spoke about early mornings making breakfast. Homework at the kitchen table. Bedtime stories. Soccer practices. School concerts. Doctor appointments. Nightmares. Hugs. Laughter. Everything that doesn't appear on financial statements. Everything that actually makes a family. The courtroom listened. Even the opposing attorney. Then Daniel said something unexpected. "Money matters." A pause. "I'm not pretending it doesn't." Another pause. "But my children have never gone to bed wondering if they're loved." The room grew quiet. Judge Hayes nodded slowly. Then she glanced at a document. Something in the file caught her attention. "Mr. Carter." "Yes, Your Honor." "Have you ever worked as an emergency responder?" Daniel looked surprised. "A long time ago." The judge frowned. "Before becoming a mechanic?" "Yes." A strange expression crossed her face. One nobody understood. "Not yet." Then she asked another question. "What year did you leave emergency services?" Daniel thought for a moment. "About 12 years ago." The judge's eyes widened slightly. Very slightly. "But enough." "One more question." Daniel looked confused. "Of course." Judge Hayes leaned forward. For the first time all day, her voice sounded different. Less judicial. More personal. "Were you involved in a highway accident on Interstate 47 during a snowstorm 12 years ago?" The courtroom looked puzzled. Daniel looked even more puzzled. Then his face changed. Recognition. "Yes." A pause. "I was." Judge Hayes stared at him. The room felt suddenly still. "Did you pull a woman from a vehicle that night?" Daniel blinked. Trying to remember. There had been many accidents. Many rescues. Many faces. Then slowly he nodded. I think so. The judge's hands trembled. Just slightly. That woman was my mother. Silence. Complete silence. Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. Even the attorneys looked stunned. Daniel stared, unable to process what he'd just heard. Judge Hayes continued. Her voice soft now. 12 years ago my mother was trapped in her car after a collision. A pause. Emergency crews couldn't reach her immediately. Another pause. You went in anyway. Memories returned. Snow. Ice. A crushed vehicle. A terrified woman. Daniel nodded slowly. I remember. The judge smiled through unexpected tears. My mother remembered too. The courtroom remained frozen. Then she added the sentence that left everyone speechless. For the rest of her life, she called you her hero. Silence. Absolute silence. The wealthy relatives looked stunned. The attorneys looked stunned. Even Daniel looked stunned. Because he had never known her name. Never knew what happened afterward. Never knew the woman survived. Judge Hayes took a slow breath. Then composed herself. Professional once again. To be clear, she said firmly, this revelation has absolutely no bearing on my legal decision. The courtroom nodded. Of course it didn't. It couldn't. But then she looked directly at Daniel. And for the record. A pause. Thank you. For a moment, Daniel couldn't speak. Because sometimes the greatest rewards arrive years after the act itself. And sometimes they arrive from people you never expected to see again. What happened next would change the entire custody case. And reveal a truth nobody in that courtroom saw coming. The courtroom remained silent for several seconds after Judge Hayes spoke. Even the attorneys seemed unsure what to do next. The moment had nothing to do with legal arguments. Nothing to do with custody. Yet somehow it had reminded everyone of something important. A person's worth cannot be measured by a bank account. Judge Hayes straightened the papers in front of her. Her expression returned to the calm professionalism for which she was known. When she spoke again, her voice was steady. Let's return to the matter before the court. The room immediately refocused. The attorney representing the wealthy relatives stood. But something had changed. The argument about Daniel's finances suddenly felt less convincing. Not because of the rescue. Because everyone had just witnessed Daniel's character. And character mattered. Especially in a custody case.